how to achieve what 99% of people can't in a 21 days system. This is a compressed reset for high performers and busy people who want to take back control of their lives and stop ignoring who they really are. My name is Max Baker. Let's dive in. Who installed the app running your thoughts? Whose voice show up when you're stressed, tired, or craving relief? What loop keeps coming back, even after all the personal development you've done? When I was young, I could feel it. I knew the voice in my head was not mine. What I didn't know is that thought shape what you feel, feelings shape what you do, and action shape the life you experience every day. What I also thought is that nothing could be done about it because that's how the human machine works. You either get lucky with your wiring or you don't. In 2016, when I started helping people break through blocks in health, relationships, and money, I began to understand the mechanics of thought and how it directly shapes the life you live. When you realize the critical voice in your head is not your own, but the adopted voice of others, you can begin to disown dysfunction. Neither do you need to blame those who negatively programmed you. They were doing the best they could with the limited tools they had. But you can do better. You have the benefit of an expanded spiritual perspective. You can stop the chain of karma rather than perpetuating it in your own life or passing it along to your children. Alan Cohen. Most people are not stuck because they lack discipline. They're stuck because they are living inside inherited code. Old voices, old rules, old coping strategies that once protected you slowly crystallize into limiting beliefs and self-sabotage. If you keep plateauing in some areas, if you keep attracting chaotic relationships, if money stays inconsistent no matter how hard you push, if the self-talk is corrosive, if you keep reaching for addiction just to take the edge off, there's a strong chance that scripts you're obeying were not coded by you. The good news is you can start changing this right now. To interrupt the loop at the source, you need a clear picture of where thoughts come from, how they get received, how they become emotion, how emotion become behavior, and how behavior and action become the building blocks of your everyday life. Once you can see the machinery, you can uninstall the mind virus that keep updating itself, operate from your authentic self, and live life from your own signal again. Most people never get to know their authentic self. By the time they reach adulthood, the self they operate from crystallizes into a construct built from other people's scripts, triggers, unmanifested desires, and coping strategies, reinforced until it becomes their personality. When you interact with them, you're not talking to who they really are. You're addressing their mask, their automated scripts, the persona overlay, the social matrix engineer for them. When I say matrix, I mean a self-validating closed system. It's a mental environment that runs in loops, filters what you know, think, see, and feel with little possibility of acting or receiving information from outside of it. Parents, public school, media, peer pressure, childhood trauma, and now AI shape consensus and install prompts on top of your real self. Those prompts get stored in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is far more powerful at generating your lived experience than the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is running you about 95% of the time. Your life is a printout of your subconscious programs. Not all programming is bad, and it's not happening to punish you. As a child, you need borrowed scripts for safety and to understand reality. And the more something gets repeated, the more efficient it becomes. That's how the mind interface learns to survive. And in a tribe, matching the clan script kept you fed, protected, and included. Getting kicked out meant danger and sometimes death. The same principle runs inside modern family cells. Children learn that to be loved, seen, and fed, they need to conform to the clan's code and tradition. So you adopted, mirrored, and learned the rules through prompts that were installed early and reinforced over time. Trauma response works the same way. They are survival mechanisms that outlived the original threat and kept running the body and mind like it's happening now. When we don't face the survival code they've written to protect us, they get passed down generationally, because they still serve the same survival purpose. As Roosevelt said, men are not prisoners of fate, but only prisoners of their own minds. What people call fate or bad luck is often the same survival code running your thoughts, feelings, and actions, then producing the same outcome on repeat. Reprogramming the code that keeps you from reaching your next goal, stuck in a narcissistic relationship, trapped in a job you hate, drained by a country that feels like it's killing your spirit, stuck in a dysfunctional relationship with money, living with recurring disease, addiction, or the shame of not feeling enough with your kids is not random. The mechanics are actually pretty simple. They just need to be understood. All it takes is a path, a lamp to light up the way, a destination, and putting one foot in front of the other. It can still be fun, motivating, and even exciting. And by doing so, breaking free from what's holding you back will become inevitable. That's the real purpose of being here. Reconnecting with your authentic highest self, then convert your liberation into a purpose that touches and inspires others. Failing to bring the unconscious into awareness keeps you walking a path assigned by others early on, shaped by your parents, government, media, teachers, friends, and coworkers. When those scripts keep running without being questioned, you end up living in dissonance with your own soul purpose. Sickness, depression, exhaustion, and the quiet feeling that you failed your life or the inability to break through the next level, even when you look functional and successful on the outside, are often messages of the soul refusing to keep living through the fake persona you've built just to survive. The failing body, the chaotic life, and the constant uneasiness become the messenger when you keep walking someone else's path and keep ignoring your purpose under the automatic justification of survival. This is what I call the NPC mode. You probably know by now that NPCs are the characters in a video game that only follow what the code dictates. No real player or real soul is guiding their actions. They can't act outside of the script. And believe me, I know that from the inside. I've been an NPC for years. It took me 2 failed marriages with narcissistic abuse, 2 failed businesses, 1 bankruptcy, addiction, and self-sabotage in various forms to finally wake up. I hit the same wall in different rooms, not because I was not smart enough, but because I did not understand the mechanics of the matrix. I finally realized what I intuitively felt as a kid, that the true player is the presence behind your thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. The one who can remember the soul, the one who can choose to reconnect to true source and write new code instead of acting out of old code. I realized that blockages and challenges are not punishment. They are messages. They actually show you with sniper accuracy what needs to be corrected inside of you so you can upgrade. This is why I put so much effort into understanding the nature of the world we live in, not for labels, not to collect vanity knowledge, and not to cosplay conspiracy theories. This is about understanding what we're doing here, how reality is generated, and how thought and action shape your relationships, wealth, abundance, and the amount of love you can both receive and get. In this reality, you're either being run by survival code or you're consciously creating your life. If you don't install your own operating system, someone else will. You end up living inside someone else's script and working towards someone else's purpose and vision. Most people do it and spend their whole lives without noticing it. And that does not mean every area of your life is stuck in survival. You can be great at attracting wealth and still be unable to create harmonious relationships, for example. You can build a successful business and still have corrosive self-talk, guilt, or an "I'm only valuable when I achieve" script running in your inner world. Here's an example of what survival code looks in real time. You tell yourself you're done with toxic relationships. You did some self-improvement work. You have clarity and motivation. You even feel strong in your Kingsley vibe for a few days. Then something small happens. A DM, the tone in your partner's voice, the look in their face, the heaviness of a silence longer than usual. Then your nervous system starts to tighten. Your mind starts playing back the old tape. Suddenly, you're back in the same automatic emotional response, saying the same lines, not feeling enough, getting triggered, trying to win love, and trying to prove something, trying to control the outcome. After the dust settles, you ask yourself, why did I do it again? This is what survival code looks like in real life. When we feel threatened, the untrained mind will reach for it to protect itself from being cast out of the tribe. It runs first as interpretation, then as emotion, then as behavior that feels like you in the moment. The result is predictable, and deep down, you know it. Same wall, different room. And when you live at the subconscious level, the way most people were trained by parents and reinforced by media and public school, you mostly replay stored memories. You call it thinking, but most of the time, you are simply reacting to external stimuli through program scripts. Mind is a conditioning given to you by society. It is an overimposition on the original mind, which we call the no mind. Ordinary normal consciousness is a kind of trance in which the essential self is suppressed, controlled by mechanical habits of thought, perception, and behavior. So why am I insisting on this, and what does it have to do with breaking free from toxic relationships, negative self-talk, not attracting steady abundance, or not reaching the next goal you know you're capable of? Because what people call fate, bad luck, or the same karmic lessons again, follow a mechanical and predictable sequence you can observe, understand, and invert completely. There are actually logical steps to how the masks form, how survival code gets updated and reinforced, and how disconnection from purpose and source become normalized in today's society, to the point that people seeking truth get treated like weirdos. Some guides and gurus will turn this into escapism. I mean, I get the appeal, and it has its own purpose too. I've been to countless plant medicine sessions. I left Canada for 2 years to live in the jungle of Costa Rica during the lockdowns to escape the madness. I mean, there's a deeper and more esoteric layer to the construct of reality that matters. We'll get into it later, but the point here is to stay practical. This is what I call practical spirituality, and this is the part that's gonna blow your mind. When you start applying a real process in micro steps, symptoms will stop being the focus and the mechanism will become visible. The limiting scripts and the false construct will begin to dissolve, and the mask and persona lose authority. You stop chasing and stop forcing outcomes, and you start attracting without effort because you're no longer broadcasting distortion. This is going to help you remap the loops that keep pulling you into the same outcomes and install a new operating system that holds under pressure. So what can be done for that? In practical terms, the shift happens through 3 steps executed inside a 21-day container. The Power of One Limitless system is a 21-day, high-impact intensive for creators, entrepreneurs, and high-performing people who look successful on the surface while running invisible loops that sabotage their potential, relationship, peace of mind, and the ability to actually enjoy the life they built. The container works because human systems change through consistent input. 21 days is long enough to disrupt the default loops, strip distortion, and install a rhythm that holds under pressure, and short enough to keep intensity high without turning this into an endless self-improvement hobby. The timeline is simple. So day 1 to 4 is the remember phase. You see the machinery, reconnect to first principles, and stop confusing programming with identity. Day 5 to 7 is the reboot. So you catch the loop as they fire, you collapse the old self-image and create space between your authentic self and the old you or the code. This is where ground zero happens. And day 8 to 21 is the recode phase. So you rebuild from vision, purpose, and daily upgrades, so the old program has nowhere to reinstall itself. Now let's get into how this actually works. So before you can see the world for what it is behind the matrix curtain, reconnect to truth, and recognize the mechanics shaping your life, you need to understand how the false construct of reality actually operates. It's a crucial part of the process because this is what brings the unconscious machinery into conscious view. Bear with me for a couple of minutes. The solution will follow shortly, and I promise it's worth your time. You are born inside a self-validating mental prison. Call it parenting, education, social engineering, brainwashing, childhood trauma, or the matrix. The label does not matter. The mechanism does. It all starts the day you were born. The first brick in the wall is your parents. Right at the moment you begin to wake up and notice the world, They pass down love, protection, and culture, but they also pass down what they never resolved: unfinished wounds, automatic reactions, and program scripts running outside their awareness. Whatever survival code was installed in their subconscious become their default worldview. It shapes their emotion, beliefs, stress response, and a sense of what is possible and what is dangerous. That inner software does not stay contained inside them. It becomes a template that gets layered over you, a persona overlay that slowly crowds out your authentic self. And trust me on this one, I have 3 kids, and even though we're awakened and doing the work, we sometimes pass down unconscious things and scripts we don't want to pass down. As you grow, you learn the unspoken laws of the tribe. Love and approval are exchanged for compliance. You get warmth when you fit the code and distance when you break it. From early childhood, you learn to associate food, clothes, gift, safety, and belonging with being good, meaning being manageable, agreeable, and aligned with authority. That is how survival code takes root. When approval starts to feel like oxygen and conformity starts to feel like safety. Santa Claus is a great example of that gatekeeping pattern. You get rewarded if you behave and you get punished if you don't. Once you start noticing, your patterns stop looking like personal flaws. They start showing up as installed programs, and that is where the exit begins. The second brick gets installed the moment you leave the inner tribe and enter the outer tribe, daycare, school, and the wider social field. This is where the world starts telling you what is real, what matters, what to want, how to behave, what to fear, what to chase, what to ignore, and what success is while being presented as education. We call it school because a school of fish moves like an organism, a hive mind pattern. And we call it a program because it programs. You sit in rows, follow bells, move on command, ask permission to speak, or even to use the bathroom, and learn that performance gets rewarded while deviation, even when it's creative, gets corrected. Over time, you start coordinating your behavior the way a school of fish coordinates its movement. It keeps the group predictable and the system efficient. It also trains your nervous system to seek safety through compliance rather than through internal guidance, creativity, and purpose. The core message is simple: succeed by fitting in. Learn the rules, follow the approved path, get the grades, get the approval, and earn your place in the tribe. People are attached to these systems as parents, students, and functioning adults who built an identity inside the construct. The system becomes a mask you wear for so long, it starts to feel like your own face. So when someone questions it, it feels personal. It feels like an attack on your identity and your stability because so much of it is built on borrowed faith. The modern factory-style education model did not appear by accident. It traces back to the state schooling template associated with Prussia, built around discipline, conformity, and loyalty to the system. And as the United States industrialized, schools scaled into a mass standardization project in the early 1900s. Major philanthropic institutions poured serious capital and influence into shaping what such a project would look like at scale. The Rockefeller General Education Board, created in 1902 and chartered in 1903, became a major national actor in funding and steering education initiatives across the country. Carnegie's institution also helped set standards and infrastructures that reinforced standardization, including the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, founded in 1905. The downstream effect is a system optimized for predictability and repetition. Disciplined behavior becomes the currency. Everything gets measured, credentialed, ranked, and compared because anything that can be measured can be managed. When you can be managed, you can be controlled. Then comes the refinement, segmentation. Instead of developing inside family, clan, and tribe based on purpose and skill, you get sorted into age brackets, compliance, tiers, and ability levels. Labels arrive early and they stick. You get tracked, corrected, and coached into the shape of the label until you start identifying with it, defending it, and ultimately living inside the ceiling it creates. Once you see this clearly, you stop blaming yourself for feeling stuck. You start seeing the machinery that installed the stuckness. Today, the education system is still running the same core architecture it was built on during the Industrial Revolution. The packaging was updated, the operating logic stayed identical. The curriculum is crafted by government that are run by the pharmaco-agro-industrial complex and the deep state. This is the control layer. It decides what's real, what's important, what is acceptable to question, and what must remain unspoken. Elections are rigged illusion and politics is a rigged theater. I think most people know that by now. I'm not going to get lost in that here. That's for another time. School boards are composed of parents educated by the same system. The few parents who see through it usually do not join, or they get filtered out because their ideas do not fit the structural mold. The majority stay in NPC mode, and NPC mode protects the program. Teachers come out of the same pipeline. They were trained through the same behavioral strips of regurgitation, reward, validation, and rejection. Then they inherit the role of gatekeeper and enforce the same structure on the next generation, often with good intention and zero awareness of what they are actually enforcing. Grades lock in, comparison, punishment, reward, and advancement. Success becomes memorizing other people's scripts and repeating them on demand. Questioning becomes social risk. Creativity becomes something you're allowed to do only inside approved boundaries. The student learns the real lesson early. If you challenge the structure, you get rejected. Bugs in the code do not make it far in the game. This is why people build masks and false identities. They do it to survive. They do it to get love and approval. They do it so they are not rejected by the tribe. Over time, the masks become the face. Then they defend the system because the system is holding their identity together. Universities expand the same mechanism on a higher level. They're funded by corporations and wealthy families with agendas. Academic journals are guarded by gatekeepers forged by the same ladder. Scientists and professors must publish to keep their careers and reputation, and publishing depends on funding and permissions from the same power structure. Step outside the approved lanes and doors close. And now, here's where it gets weird. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. Parents, media, and education shape thought, values, and ideology. Social media and AI finish the job by making it easier and more appealing than ever to surrender the sovereignty of creating your own thoughts, values, and worldview. They amplify survival code and disconnection from consciousness and creative power while reinforcing conformity and pulling your attention towards whatever the matrix wants you to focus on. Social media trains the appetite for lower density cravings like sex, money, status, and material obsession. It also manufactures low frequency emotional weather, fear when you see violence and disasters, envy when you watch other people living what you think you can't, lust, comparison, and the quiet shame of not being enough, all of it pulling you deeper into someone else's script. And AI cements the beast system. It mirrors and amplifies your thoughts and desires in a self-congratulating algorithm. And we know by now that for 90% of people, those thoughts and desires are not even theirs. They are inherited scripts, implanted preferences, and conditioned reflexes. The feedback loop closes. This is how the controller's code becomes self-perpetuated. The matrix writes the script, the crowd repeats the script, and AI turbocharges the repetition. This is consciousness socialism on steroids. Individual creative power gets flattened down to the lowest common denominator. Thought, behavior, and action rarely comes from higher consciousness. They come from absorbed hive mind code. AI is becoming the first layer of programming the moment a child enters the world. Before a parent shapes perception, before a teacher speaks, the digital field is already training the mind through the tool everyone now depends on. Teachers are using AI to teach, students will use AI to learn. Those same students will raise children who inherit their habits formed inside this feedback loop, so the program keeps reproducing itself through convenience and dependency. This is why awareness of the fake construct matters so much. Without a witness online inside you, the machine becomes your mind and your mind becomes your life. AI is extraordinary as an employee. It becomes a problem when it becomes the CEO of your creative mind. Used consciously, it's a weapon for creation. Used unconsciously, the mind will drift deeper into NPC territory. Pesticides, hyper-processed food, pharmaceuticals, and the chemical load in everyday products like soap, cleaners, shampoo, deodorant, synthetic clothing, and even chemicals in the air all add to the distortion of signal clarity. This severely impairs your connection to higher states of consciousness, keeping you locked in lower vibrational states, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Omnipresent toxicity creates mental fog and emotional heaviness. It dulls clarity, weakens drive, and severs connection to inspiration and creativity. When your organs are overloaded and your nervous system is constantly managing chemical stress and inflammation, the whole system will lose conductivity. The signal gets distorted. Electromagnetic circulation gets impaired, hormones fall out of balance, the body's communication breaks down, and the mind starts living inside a low-grade confusion that feels normal because it's constant and no one knows anything else. We will iterate on this in another post. This is the game you're in. You enter this world through a family already shaped by the matrix, surrounded by language, culture, and unspoken expectation that begin writing your internal code before you understand a single word. Childhood brings early pressure from the tribe. Carrying the same programming in school reinforces the worldview that keeps the system running. Media and entertainment fill the remaining space, shaping desire that were never fully yours, while the workforce trains you to survive through obedience rather than awareness. Rituals of society, religion, and culture wraps around your identity until you forget where the group ends and where you begin. The information you trust comes from structures built inside the same construct, so the loop stays closed and questioning becomes more costly than conformity. Without realizing it, you pass the script forward to the next generation, believing you're teaching them how life works while transmitting the very program that once shaped your survival and your limitations. This is why you have a fake persona. This is why you don't know who you really are. This is why you wear a mask at work, with friends, with spouses and kids, and even with yourself. This is why patterns got imprinted in you that shape relationship, self-love, confidence, money, health, and the way you move through the world. You have been systematically cut off from your authentic self for one reason: to cut you off from knowing your true nature and the creative power that lives inside of you. From this angle, this picture can feel desperate. Most people never make it out because they never become aware of the trap in the first place. But the fake construct exists so you can escape it. It is a training ground for souls, not a damnation of the god. If a video game had no encoded challenge, no one would play it. Your purpose is to break free from the limitations assigned to you, reclaim your signal, and become the conscious creator of your life. So what's behind the curtain? What's behind the matrix? What's the true nature of the world? Well, spirituality calls it the word, source, the one. Physics calls it fields or quantum field or unified field. Those two languages are pointing at the same underlying architecture, is two sides of the same coin. It's an invisible substrate that organizes form from infinite potential. You heard it many times. Everything is frequency and vibration. Think about it. Sound is pressured waves. Color is electromagnetic frequency. And at the deepest level, modern physics model reality as fields, what we call particles, showing up as quantized excitation of those fields, like stable ripples in the ocean. The double slit experiment is a clean example. When no one tracked which slit the particles goes through, the result shows up as a wave pattern, an interference field. The moment you measure its path, the pattern snaps into a single outcome, one location, one result. In other words, intention and awareness pull from the field of infinite possibilities and manifest a result into what we call reality. If there's one thing to understand, it's this. Reality pulls energy from a field of possibility into the world you can touch through interaction, attention, coherence, and alignment. Your life is the output. Your consciousness is the connection to source, the one, the field, the Wi-Fi. Your mind is the router. It receives raw frequency and translates it into thought and meaning. Your subconscious tags the signal instantly through your inherited survival scripts. Safe or threat, possible or impossible, and those tags encode your signature frequency. Your nervous system is the amplifier. It boosts that frequency into a lived emotional state inside your body, and that emotional state becomes your broadcast, the message you constantly send into the environment. It never stops transmitting into the informational field, shaping how you experience yourself, your relationship, your decision, and the reality you call life. Survival code functions like filters and noise on the line. Sometimes it is full-on corruption that distorts signal before you even experience it as your thought. That distortion becomes emotion, then behavior, then experience reality. This is why inspiration, intuition, vision, guidance, and ideas that feel like they arrive from nowhere show up when you're coherent, rested, aligned, conductive, and stable. The receiver clears, the channel opens, and the pure signal comes through with less distortion. Two, the reboot, day 4 to 7. This phase is where you stop pretending the old identity is you and start deconstructing it. This is where the dissolution of the limiting beliefs and survival codes programmed into your consciousness begins. You surface the patterns, addictions, coping strategies, and the ways you've been lying to yourself in order to stay comfortable, approved, or safe. You start seeing the survival scripts running in the background, shaping internal voice and your choices before you even realize you're choosing. This is where the signal sessions, which are part of the Power of One Limitless system, take you down to ground zero. Ground zero is the point where your survival code loses its grip because you strip the illusions down to the frame. The scripts stop feeling like me and start showing up as programming. When that happens, there's finally space between you and the code. The space is where the true I am is. This is where your authentic self lives, before the survival scripts, before the masks, in the field of infinite potential, before the engineered limitations. The breakthrough sessions are the mechanism that make this real. They are an immersive 3-day online intensive reset to take you into the architecture of your mind, expose the invisible filters running your life, and bring you to mental ground zero so you can disidentify yourself from the machinery and reclaim authorship of your reality. The outcome of this phase is simple. You start creating instead of reacting. You see the machinery instead of being the machinery. You step out of the loop, drop the reward mechanism behind your survival scripts, and move forward with a real new possibility that gets executed through concrete assignments outside the room. Three, recoding, day 8 to 21. Once the false identity cracks, you rebuild on a clean foundation. This is where the daily upgrade protocols come in. You build your one vision and make it the operating target for your nervous system and subconscious. You define the destination you want, the anti-vision you refuse to keep living, and the deep why underneath both. Then you install a new operating rhythm in micro steps. Intermittent fasting, you mineralize yourself, nervous system regulation, mental decluttering, vision, planning and journaling sequences, sleep resets, emotional regulation, environment upgrade, and decision protocols that keep you aligned with your purpose and authentic selves. This locks the shift into real life. Your field and broadcast become coherent. Background static quiet down. Synchronicity and clean lock start showing up because you stop broadcasting distortion and contradictions. Opportunities, people, and decisions that were inaccessible when you were running survival code become obvious. You move differently because you're finally moving as you instead of running someone else's script. The message you send to the world is yours, not the matrix. How does it look in real life? Like mentally, background chatter calms down, thinking gets sharper, decision gets cleaner. You see old scripts arise without fusing with them. Emotionally, you experience more stability, less reactivity, and more space between trigger and response. Physically, energy return, sleep improves, inflammation drops, and the body stops feeling like an obstacle. On the identity level, the false I am construct loses its grip, self-trust rebuilds, and confidence becomes grounded. Spiritually, your connection to source signal or the one or the universe gets clear enough to feel, and you start creating from alignment instead of fear. Human systems change through consistent input. The nervous system rewires within only a couple of weeks of clean repetition. Identity shifts when you show up as a different person again and again in micro steps. It doesn't have to be drastic change. You just need to accomplish micro steps to incarnate the change. New habits stabilize when the inputs are stable and consistent. Most life-changing habits add weight to a system that's already bankrupt. It's like painting a wall over the mold. The Power of One Limitless system strips distortion, resets identity at the root, and rebuilds coherence so you can generate a life that matches who you really are. The part of you that is tired of loops, tired of NPC mode, and tired of calling the prison normal life already knows the old program is done. The next move is to act on it. If this speaks to you right now, the full Power of One Limitless system is in its beta phase. I'm building it in public, refining it week by week. What I want is a small group of real people with me to join me in my SoulTribe community so we can test it, sharpen it, and refine it as we go. I'm targeting a beta release around March 2026. And in the meantime, if you want to go deeper than a weekly email, join me in the SoulTribe. The SoulTribe is my private community. It's completely free from now. There's no bullshit. If you just want to connect with people with whom you resonate with, this is where I share the practices behind the work, post exclusive coaching, answer questions, and help you apply this in real life. Expect awakened people, direct feedback, real accountability in a higher frequency environment. Inside the SoulTribe, you'll get free foundational tools like meditation, breathwork, vision, and recalibration tracks, weekly community prompts, live Q&A session, playlists and resources, plus update on events, the Power of One release, courses and retreats, and the possibility to chat with me one-on-one. If you're done with sugar-coated advice and you want real change, this is where it happens. Click below to see if you qualify. It only takes 10 seconds. Oh, and before you go, like, subscribe, and follow. It's one click and it helps more than you think. Turn on notifications too. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers.